You've ever noticed that the harder you try to hold on to something, the faster it slips through your fingers? Imagine standing in a room full of people, desperately wanting to be seen, to be understood, to be chosen, yet feeling more invisible with each passing moment. The more you smile, the more you try to appear perfect, the more others seem to look right through you. What if I told you that this isn't happening because you're not worthy, not because fate is cruel, but because of an invisible force you're unconsciously broadcasting into the world? Picture this. You send a text message to someone you care about. Minutes turn into hours. Hours stretch into an entire day. With each passing moment, you check your phone obsessively, your mind spiraling into countless scenarios. Did they see it? Are they ignoring me? What did I do wrong? You tell yourself you're being patient, that you're not clinging, but deep inside, every fiber of your being is screaming for a response. This silent desperation, this energy of lack, radiates from you like an invisible alarm that pushes away the very thing you're trying to attract. Carl Jung understood something profound about human consciousness that most people never discover in their lifetime. He recognized that we don't just communicate with words or actions, we communicate with our entire energy field. Every thought charged with emotion, every unconscious fear, every hidden wound broadcasts a frequency that others can feel, even when we say nothing at all. This isn't mystical thinking, it's psychological reality. Your energy field is more honest than your words, and it creates a corresponding response in the world around you. Think about the last time you walked into a room and immediately felt uncomfortable around someone, even though they were being perfectly polite. Or remember that person who could light up an entire space just by entering it without saying a word. This is the power of vibrational communication, the silent language of consciousness that Jung spent his life studying. When you emit vibrations born of lack, from a place filled with craving, control, and anxiety, you're sending a clear signal that says, I don't have enough, I'm afraid. I'm not complete without that thing, that person, that validation. The cruel irony is that chasing is a vibration born of emptiness, and anything born of emptiness carries within it the very signal that drives away what you desire most. You don't attract with your thoughts or your carefully crafted words, you attract with your frequency, with the deep energetic truth of who you are in each moment. And as long as your energy is running after something, clinging to outcomes, desperately trying to control how others respond to you, you're unconsciously pushing away the very experiences you're longing for. Let me paint you a picture of how this plays out in real life. Sarah, a brilliant and accomplished woman, had been single for 3 years after a devastating breakup. She'd done everything right, gone to therapy, practiced self-love, read all the books about healing and manifestation. On paper, she was ready for love. She was confident, independent, and had a clear vision of what she wanted. But every time she met someone promising, the same pattern would unfold. Things would start beautifully, but within weeks, she'd find herself checking her phone constantly, analyzing every message, interpreting every pause in conversation as a sign of rejection. Sarah wasn't clingy in the traditional sense. She didn't blow up anyone's phone or make unreasonable demands, but her energy was screaming something entirely different than her composed exterior. Deep down, she was broadcasting a frequency that said, "Please don't leave me like the last one did. Please be the one who finally proves I'm worthy of staying." Even though she never spoke these words, her energy field was having an entirely different conversation, one that potential partners could feel in their bones. Jung called this phenomenon projection, the unconscious process by which we cast the unintegrated parts of ourselves onto the external world. When you pursue love from a place of fear of loneliness, you're not actually pursuing love at all. You're pursuing someone to fill the void you haven't yet learned to fill yourself. When you chase success because you feel worthless without achievement, you're not operating from authentic passion, but from an inner wound that no external accomplishment can ever heal. The shadow, as Jung termed it, isn't just the negative aspects of our personality. It's everything we refuse to acknowledge, everything we push away, everything we're afraid to look at within ourselves. When you're operating from your shadow, when you're driven by unconscious fears and unhealed wounds, you become a magnet for experiences that mirror those very fears back to you. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And here's what most people don't understand about the law of attraction and manifestation. It's not about visualizing what you want or repeating affirmations. It's about examining the foundational energy from which you're operating. If that energy is rooted in fear, in a sense of lack, in the belief that you're not enough as you are, then no amount of positive thinking will override that deeper frequency. You'll continue to attract people who are emotionally unavailable, opportunities that slip through your fingers, experiences that confirm your deepest fears about yourself. Jung drew a crucial distinction between the ego and the soul. The ego is the part of you that wants to control, to plan, to possess, to prove your worth to the world. It's the voice that says, I need to do something to make this work. I need to be chosen. I need to avoid being abandoned. The soul, on the other hand, is the part of you that needs no external validation to know its inherent worth. When you live from your soul, you don't need to chase anything because you recognize a fundamental truth. You are already whole, already complete, already worthy of love exactly as you are. But here's where it gets really interesting. Most people who are struggling with these patterns have actually done significant work on themselves. They've read the books, attended the workshops, gone to therapy, practiced meditation. They look healed on the outside, but there's still something operating beneath the surface. Something Jung called the unconscious. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will continue to direct your life and you'll call it fate. The woman who keeps attracting men who won't commit isn't unlucky in love. She's broadcasting an energy that says, I'm not worth staying for, even while consciously believing she deserves a committed relationship. The man who can't seem to find success despite being incredibly talented isn't cursed with bad luck. He's operating from a frequency that says, I don't deserve to win even while working harder than anyone else. This is the profound truth that Jung wanted us to understand. We don't attract what we consciously want. We attract what we unconsciously are. And until we're willing to look at the deeper patterns, the hidden fears, the unhealed wounds that are driving our energy, we'll continue to live the same story over and over again, just with different characters and settings. If you're recognizing yourself in these patterns, if you're feeling that pull of familiarity, that uncomfortable recognition of your own hidden desperation, then you're already beginning the most important journey of your life. The journey from chasing to attracting, from lack to abundance, from fear to presence. But transformation doesn't happen through understanding alone. It happens through the courage to look at what you've been afraid to see, to feel what you've been afraid to feel, and to choose differently from a place of authentic self-worth. The shift from chasing to magnetic presence isn't just about changing your behavior or adopting new strategies. It's about a fundamental transformation in how you relate to yourself and the world. It's about discovering that the love, success, and fulfillment you've been seeking outside yourself has been waiting patiently within you all along. And when you finally stop running toward what you think you need and start emanating from what you already have, everything changes. Well, this journey isn't always easy and it's not always comfortable. In fact, it requires you to face the very things you've been trying to avoid, to sit with the discomfort of uncertainty, to trust in something deeper than your need to control outcomes. Are you ready to discover what happens when you stop chasing and start choosing yourself? Because what you're about to learn next will challenge everything you thought you knew about love, success, and what it really means to be magnetic. The moment you truly understand that your energy is more powerful than your words, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. But understanding isn't enough. The real transformation happens when you're willing to examine the uncomfortable truth about what you've been unconsciously broadcasting to the world. Most people spend their entire lives trying to get others to see them, choose them, validate them, never realizing that the very act of trying is what's keeping them invisible. Let me tell you about Marcus, a successful entrepreneur who couldn't understand why his romantic relationships always followed the same devastating pattern. He was attractive, financially stable, emotionally intelligent, and genuinely caring, yet every woman he dated eventually pulled away, often saying they felt overwhelmed or that something felt too intense. Marcus was baffled because he wasn't pushy or demanding. He gave his partner space, never asked too many questions, and always tried to be the perfect gentleman. The breakthrough came during a therapy session when his counselor asked him a simple question. When you're with someone you're interested in, where is your attention really focused? Marcus paused, and in that moment of honest self-reflection, he realized something shocking. Even when he was being perfectly respectful and giving space, his entire nervous system was on high alert. He was constantly monitoring for signs of approval or rejection, unconsciously scanning for evidence that this person would or wouldn't abandon him like others had before. His energy wasn't saying, "I'm enjoying getting to know you." It was screaming, "Please don't leave me. Please be the one who stays." Even though he never spoke these words, even though his behavior was impeccable, he was broadcasting a frequency of desperate need that others could feel in their body. They weren't pulling away because he was doing anything wrong. They were pulling away because they could sense an energy field that was asking them to fill a void that no human being can fill for another. This is the difference between loving someone and needing someone to heal you. When you love from a place of wholeness, your energy says, "I'm complete on my own and I choose to share my completeness with you." When you need someone to heal you, your energy says, "I'm broken without you and I need you to fix me." The second frequency is exhausting for others to be around, not because they don't care about you, but because they can sense they're being asked to carry a responsibility that isn't theirs to bear. Jung wrote extensively about what he called the wounded healer archetype. He understood that our deepest wounds often become our greatest sources of wisdom, but only when we're willing to face them directly instead of trying to get others to heal them for us. The person who was abandoned as a child doesn't need someone to promise they'll never leave. They need to heal their own abandonment wound so they can love without the terror of loss. The person who was told they weren't good enough doesn't need constant reassurance from others. They need to develop an unshakable sense of their own worth. But here's where most people get stuck. They think healing means feeling better, being more confident, or having fewer triggers. Real healing, according to Jung, means integration. It means facing the parts of yourself you've been trying to hide, ignore, or fix, and learning to love yourself completely. Shadows and all. It means no longer needing the world to be different than it is for you to feel safe and valuable. Imagine what would happen if you truly believed in your bones that you were completely worthy of love exactly as you are right now. Not when you lose weight, not when you make more money, not when you become more interesting or successful or attractive. Right now, with all your flaws, all your fears, all your imperfections. How would that change the energy you bring to every interaction? How would it change the way you show up in the world? When you stop operating from a place of lack, something magical happens. You stop trying to get energy from others and start generating it from within. You stop looking for someone to complete you and start appreciating others for who they are, not for what they can do for you. You stop performing for love and start simply being yourself, trusting that the right people will be drawn to your authentic energy. This shift from chasing to magnetic presence isn't just about romantic relationships. It affects every area of your life. The person who desperately wants to be successful but operates from a fear of failure will continue to sabotage their own efforts. The person who wants friends but tries too hard to be liked will continue to attract superficial connections. The person who wants to be respected but constantly seeks approval will continue to be overlooked. The key is learning to distinguish between desire and desperation. Desire is clean. It's wanting something while being perfectly okay if it doesn't happen. Desperation is contaminated with fear. It's needing something to happen because you believe you can't be okay without it. Desire attracts. Desperation repels. The same goal, the same want, but a completely different energy underneath. Jung called this process of becoming whole individuation. It's not about becoming a better version of yourself. It's about becoming your authentic self, the person you were before the world told you who you should be. It's about reclaiming all the parts of yourself you've disowned, all the aspects of your personality you've hidden, all the dreams you've abandoned because you were afraid they weren't acceptable. The most attractive people aren't the most beautiful, the most successful, or the most charming. They're the most authentic. They're the ones who have done the inner work of accepting themselves completely, who no longer need external validation to feel worthy, who can be present with others without needing anything from them. They radiate a quiet confidence that comes from knowing who they are and being okay with it. This is what Jung meant when he said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, not who your parents wanted you to be, not who society expects you to be, not who you think you should be, but who you actually are at your core. And the paradox is that the more authentically yourself you become, the more attractive you become to others, not because you're trying to be attractive, but because authenticity is inherently magnetic. So if you've been chasing love, success, approval, or any other external validation, I want you to consider a different approach. What if instead of trying to get something from the world, you focused on giving something to it? What if instead of trying to be chosen, you chose yourself? What if instead of trying to prove your worth, you simply decided to believe in it? The shift happens in the quiet moments, when you choose presence over performance, when you choose authenticity over approval, when you choose self-love over self-abandonment. It happens when you stop asking, how can I make them like me, and start asking, how can I be more genuinely myself? It happens when you stop trying to control outcomes and start trusting in your own inherent worth. Your energy is always speaking, always broadcasting, always creating a response in the world around you. The question is, what is it saying? Is it saying, I'm not enough, please fill me? Or is it saying, I'm whole, and I'm here to share my wholeness with you? The world responds to what you truly believe about yourself, not what you think you should believe or what you wish you believed. The journey from chasing to magnetic presence is the journey from fear to love, from lack to abundance, from performance to authenticity. And it all starts with the courage to look at yourself honestly, to face your shadows with compassion, and to choose yourself completely, exactly as you are right now. If this message has touched something deep within you, if you recognize yourself in these patterns and feel ready to break free from them, then you're already beginning the most important transformation of your life. The transformation from someone who needs the world to validate their worth to someone who knows their worth and freely shares it with the world. Leave a comment below and tell me, what pattern are you ready to break? What energy are you tired of broadcasting? Your awareness is the first step toward change, and your courage to look at these patterns is already shifting your vibration. The moment you stop chasing and start choosing yourself, everything begins to change, not because you've become someone different, but because you finally become who you truly are.